gentlemen, this is Vince Miller. Thank you so much for joining me for this devotional. Today we're in Galatians chapter 1. I'm going to read verses 13 through 14. Paul says, "For you have heard of my former life in Judaism, how I persecuted the church of God violently, trying to destroy it. And I was advancing in Judaism beyond many of my own age among my people. So extremely zealous was I for the traditions of my fathers." So in this little excerpt here, Paul is going to establish himself with the people of Galatia as a legalist, at least a former legalist. And that if anybody could have been the CEO of the party of legalism, he could have. And he describes what it resulted in. It resulted in persecution, violence, and destruction for the church. And then he adds that he really excelled at this thing. He was the youngest protege of legalism. And his point is twofold. First, that he knows the effects of legalism. And second, that he has the right to speak against it. You know, sometimes in life we have these painful experiences that teach us about evil and corruption in the world. And usually through these hard-learned lessons, we discover how evil and corrupt we are. But when we discover salvation in Christ, we find freedom from sin that comes through his grace. And it's good. His grace is so good that we never want to go back to our old sinful ways. So when we see others about to walk into the same traps, I think we feel compelled to speak up because we know the destructiveness of those events. So gentlemen, I want to encourage you and compel you to speak up for others in places where you have been educated firsthand about sin. If you've been self-absorbed in your life, then speak up about the evils of pride. If you pursued wealth and accomplishments, then speak up about materialism. If you've been addicted, speak up and against bondage to sin. And if you've committed sexual sin, speak up about purity and the fight against impurity. Use your knowledge and experiences and battles with past sin against the present enemy, the devil. You know why? Because God's grace and your story is a weapon for good in this life. That's what Paul did. And because of it, people came to know Christ and the lost were saved. So that's your challenge today, to speak up about God's good grace to you and the evils of sin that you faced in your life. Fellas, I love you. Get out there and do some ministry. And with that, I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.